Today's adventure brings us back to one of my favorite places in the world, Roche Harbor, San Juan Island. We're fishing the 5th annual Roche Harbor Salmon Classic Invitational, billed as the largest blackmouth tournament in the world. I've got the crew of Real Deal coming back this year, the same crew that won this prestigious tournament last year. John Marler, Bob Bostwick, Greg Sewell, back on my boat Real Deal as we fish the largest blackmouth derby in the world. Hang with us, this is the Season 2 opener of San Juan Sportsman. I've said it before, there's something absolutely magical about the San Juan Islands. Just look at the over 400 miles of rugged shoreline and sandy beaches, more shoreline than any other county in the entire U.S. And the pristine waters that surround these amazing islands, teeming with salmon, lingcod, halibut, Dungeness crab, spot prawns. If you like Northwest boating and sport fishing, there's no better location in the Pacific Northwest. In my opinion, the heart of the San Juans is right here, Roche Harbor. Rich in history and carefully preserved, Roche Harbor is the perfect balance of a modern, well-managed marina and a relaxing, slow-paced lifestyle. Five years ago, Roche Harbor started sponsoring the Salmon Derby, and it has quickly become my favorite fishing event of the year. One of the reasons this event is so special to me is that I live just down the road in my little piece of paradise I call Bonefish Ranch. There aren't any bonefish in this area, and my modest home isn't exactly a ranch, but somehow the name stuck. It's here at Bonefish Ranch that I will host my crew during this derby and will entertain some of the guys from the other boats that we've befriended over the years. In the days before the derby, the crew starts to trickle into Bonefish Ranch. So we unload gear and we decide to have a little pre-derby poker tournament. The day before the derby, it's time to get serious. We've got to check in for the derby, load the boat, fuel the boat, check our gear, and scout our fishing grounds. Since we won last year, no professional fishermen allowed this year, so we're going back to the ranch. Lucky number this year. Thursday afternoon at 2:30. We're just pulling out of Roche here. We're gonna go run the boat and run the gear. We got the whole crew in now. Butcher just landed this morning to round out the 4-man Real Deal crew. So we're gonna go out and run some gear, check out our secret spots, make sure the boat's running good for the morning. So hang with us. We're gonna take you scouting. I call it scouting, but to me, this afternoon doesn't have anything to do with scouting for fish. Tomorrow, I want to punch out of that hole shot, rock it down to our fishing hole, and get our gear dragging as fast as possible. I've already studied the tides and currents, I have our derby strategy figured out, and I know where we're going to fish tomorrow. Today is really about making sure the crew is familiar with the boat and the gear, and make sure everything is working properly. Back at Roche, the 100-boat field and their 4-person crews are all arriving and going through the same preparations we are. We toss down the traditional welcome night prime rib dinner, we listen to the rules, and head back to Bonefish Ranch for the night. There's a very important rule change this year communicated to all the boats. Due to a new Washington State Department of Fisheries regulation, during this derby we are only allowed to catch and retain hatchery-raised fish. We have to release any native blackmouth identified by an intact adipose fin on the back of the fish near the tail. You know, there's something smelly in Washington State, and it is not the holding tank of the real deal. I'm a sportsman committed to the conservation of fishery, but I think this rule is absolutely absurd as a measure to conserve these local non-migrating fish. It drives me crazy when special interest groups with very little knowledge of these topics, but because they're well organized and heavily funded, and in many cases funded by the very revenue generated from licensing fees from sportsmen like me, implement ridiculous rules aimed at negatively impacting the average sport angler. Drives me absolutely crazy. That night, the crew dreams of big fish with no fins.